VLSos here. This is a video lesson for computer programming a new data type, tuple. We have three multiple item data types that we're familiar with so far. We'll give an example. We have lists. And what I mean by multiple item data type is that a list can contain nothing, one or several, however many elements we wish to store in the list. We separate them by commas, and a list starts with square brackets. So we have a list length of 4. There are multiple things in it. We also have a dictionary data type. A dictionary uses squiggly brackets, and it is an association between a key and a value. Key always comes first. In this case, it's the string length 1 or character A, and the value associated with that key of A is the integer 1. And we can put multiple things in a dictionary or even have empty dictionaries. So I'm adding a new element, a key B and a value 2. Another one, key C, value 3. So this dictionary, this example, has a length of 3, has multiple items in it. We also learned about sets, and sets are similar to lists, though they use squiggly brackets. They can contain multiple things, but no duplicates. And any attempt to add a duplicate is fine in the sense that it doesn't break your program, but it's simply, if an element is added that's already there, it won't duplicate it. It will just keep the element that was already there and not allow the new duplicate in. So we have a set, and it has a length of 3. These are all data types that can contain multiple other items. We have a fourth data type that is similar, and it's called a tuple. And we call these built-in data types. So a list, dictionary, set, and tuple are the 4 built-in data types in the language of Python. So what's a tuple? We'll give you an example of one. A tuple, and I spell tuple. I spell a lot of things incorrectly. I often spell tuple with 2 P's, maybe even 3 sometimes. Our example of a tuple is using rounded parentheses this time for the grouping, and we can put items into the tuple. Just like a list and a set, and we can print a call to the type to confirm that Python considers it to be its own unique type, and then we will print the tuple. We can iterate through tuples. We can see that with item in our tuple example, printing the item. Of course, we got to get our syntax right, which means that we need to close a parenthesis there. No. What does it want? Open, open, close, close, type, call, and print. Something above it. Not sure how that fixed it. We have in idle, we have a print of the type. We can see it recognizes it as a tuple and knows how to spell it. And we have the tuple there with our length of 3 and rounded parentheses, and then evidence of our iteration. So, what is the difference? Well, here's the difference, and here's the main feature of tuples. They are unchangeable. Once you define it like we had there, it's not going to allow us to add anything or subtract anything from it. And we can try to do so. We're literally going to need to use the try, or we could do that later after we see our program break. If we refer to our tuple and we attempt to add something to it, like we could a set, we save, we run, and we get a break because tuple object has no attribute add. We can't add anything to it. The add function doesn't work on tuples. So In order to preserve this as an example, we'll hide it behind a try block because it will break. We know, we've seen, and then put the exception. The error that comes up is an attribute error. The add method doesn't work, is not an attribute on this tuple object. And then we'll print to remind us and chastise. Did you try to change a tuple? Silly coder. You know you can't do that now. And of course, if we save and run now, our program isn't broken, but we did get that exception message there. We can't add anything to a tuple. We can't remove anything either. So we will experience this by cutting and pasting, but instead of adding, we're going to try to remove something that should be there, which is a 2 is in our tuple. It is. And then we'll say, did you try to change the tuple? Silly coder, yes. Removing is trying to change the tuple, the contents and its size. So if we run our program now, it's calling us silly twice. We've tried to change it twice. Why? Why would we have tuples if they're limited this way? That's a very strong limitation. Tuples seem limited. What's the point? Variables can be modified, and variables that can be modified can introduce unnecessary complexity and malicious code. Tuples are often used to signify information that should not change because it cannot change. So using a tuple, there's a lot of things in coding when you write a program, values that you would assign to be variables that you don't want to change. You're simply using those values. The color ingredients for graphics programming is one of those things. If you have a particular color that is not going to change, then you use a tuple to represent the information for that color. We call that a color tuple. And using tuples for information that can't change shows people that observe your code that those values are intended to be used that way. Also, in much more sophisticated programming, you may want to use tuples so that if in a complex program there is that it prevents the data in the tuple from being changed by somebody that might want to take advantage of putting malicious code in there. We often encode in teams of people, and some of those people might have ill intent on sophisticated programs that are backed by a lot of money or security. Tuples can help with a little bit of malicious code protection. Other than being unchangeable, tuples are like lists. They are ordered, they may be indexed, they are iterable, and they do allow duplicates and have a length. We can use the tuple function to change a list into a tuple. Lists are very close to being tuples, but lists can be added to and removed from. And if we do so, we see that our previous list example simply changed the brackets. It's now a tuple with the rounded brackets. And it does contain duplicates. Duplicates are fine for tuples. Now you write a simple program that creates a tuple of strings that are a few of your friends and or family. Ask the user for input and compares the input to the contents of the tuple and responds differently depending on the user input.